The garage smelled like motor oil and betrayal. I wiped my hands on a greasy rag, staring at the vintage Mustang I'd been restoring for 3 years. Angela's laughter drifted from the house. Sharp, cruel, nothing like the woman I married 8 years ago. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Tom's so predictable, her voice carried through the open kitchen window. Always talking about kids and white picket fences. God, it's exhausting being married to someone so boring. I froze, wrench halfway to the carburetor. My wife was on another late-night video call, probably with her business partner Liam Carter. Again. I know, baby, she continued, voice dropping to that sultry tone she used to save for me. The surgery's next week. Once I get my tubes tied, we won't have to worry about accidents anymore. My chest tightened. We'd discussed having children for months. She'd agreed, or so I thought. Tom actually thinks I might change my mind about kids, Angela laughed. As if. I was never made for motherhood. Too many dreams, too much ambition. Besides, I've got other plans now. I crept closer to the window, staying in the shadows. Liam, stop, she giggled. You know what that does to me. Save it for tomorrow night when Tom's at the hospital. Tomorrow night? My shift at Metropolitan General? The same shift I'd specifically requested off to spend time with my wife after her procedure. Rage burned in my throat, but I kept quiet. Dr. Thomas Reed, respected surgeon, devoted husband, apparently the biggest fool in Chicago. I slipped back into the garage and grabbed Angela's purse from the workbench. Her hands shook as I found the hidden compartment she thought I didn't know about. Inside, a second phone. The messages made my stomach turn. Photos, explicit texts, plans for romantic getaways while I worked 60-hour weeks to pay for her designer lifestyle. Can't wait to celebrate my freedom. Read her latest message to Liam. Tom will never see it coming. She was right about that, but not in the way she expected. I photographed everything, uploaded it to a secure cloud account, then carefully replaced the phone. Angela's laughter continued from the kitchen, planning her future without me. Walking back to the Mustang, I made my own plans. If my wife wanted freedom, I'd give it to her, along with a few surprises she'd never forget. The next morning, Angela announced her surgery date with fake enthusiasm. Dr. Morrison says it's a simple procedure, she said, buttering toast she'd barely touch. I'll be home by evening. Your body, your choice, I replied, sipping coffee that tasted like ash. She looked surprised by my calm response. You're not upset? Why would I be upset about my wife's medical decisions? The relief on her face made me sick. She actually thought I was that naive. I love you, Tom, she said, kissing my cheek with lips that had been whispering sweet lies to another man. I know exactly who you are, Angela. She missed the double meaning entirely. That afternoon, while Angela underwent her sterilization surgery, I filed for divorce. My lawyer, Janet Morrison, no relation to Angela's doctor, had everything prepared. You sure about this timing, Tom? Janet asked. Right after her surgery seems harsh. Trust me, the timing is perfect. I also opened a separate bank account and transferred half our assets, my legal right under Illinois law. Angela would wake up to find more than her reproductive system had been severed. By evening, I'd moved my essential belongings to a storage unit and checked into the Riverside Motel. Not glamorous, but it would do, while I planned my next moves. Angela called around 9, voice groggy from anesthesia. Tom? Where are you? I'm home, but the house feels empty. I'm sure Liam can keep you company. Silence. Then, what's that supposed to mean? Check your email, Angela. You've got some reading to do. I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow would bring the real fireworks. Claire Dalton arrived at my motel room the next morning with coffee and croissants. Angela's best friend since college, Claire had always been the one person in my wife's circle who treated me like a human being instead of a walking paycheck. She's losing her mind, Claire said, settling into the room's single chair. Called me at 6 a.m., screaming about divorce papers and frozen accounts. Did she mention why I might have done that? Claire's expression hardened. She claims you're having a midlife crisis, says you've become controlling and paranoid. I showed her the photos from Angela's secret phone. Claire's face went white, then red with anger. That lying bitch, she whispered. Tom, I'm so sorry. I suspected something was wrong, but this... You suspected? The way she talked about you changed 6 months ago. Started making jokes about your boring stability and how she needed more excitement. I thought she was just restless, not cheating. Claire had been Angela's maid of honor, but she'd also been my friend first. We'd met in college, dated briefly before I introduced her to Angela. No romantic feelings remained, but our friendship had endured. "There's more," Claire said reluctantly. "Liam's not just stealing your wife. He's been taking credit for Angela's designs, passing them off as his own work. She doesn't know, thinks they're true partners." The irony was delicious. Angela was betraying me while being betrayed herself. "Help me destroy them," I said. Claire smiled, a cold, calculating expression I'd never seen before. "I thought you'd never ask." Our first target was Liam's precious Tesla. That evening, we followed him to his favorite restaurant, where he was dining with potential clients. While they enjoyed their overpriced steaks, we enjoyed redecorating his car. Cheater in bright red paint across the driver's side. One slashed tire, not enough to cause an accident, just maximum inconvenience. And Claire's master stroke. A rotten fish from the restaurant's dumpster, carefully placed in his trunk. "My brother's a cop," Claire explained as we walked away. Taught me that revenge works best when it's not technically illegal. The next phase required more finesse. Chicago's social scene thrived on gossip, and I had connections throughout the medical community. A few carefully placed words at hospital fundraisers, some anonymous tips to society bloggers, and suddenly everyone was talking about the affair. Angela called constantly, but I let every call go to voicemail. "Tom, please," her latest message pleaded. "We need to talk. These rumors are destroying my reputation. My clients are asking questions." "Good. Let them ask." The real test came at the Metropolitan General Charity Gala, an event I'd attended with Angela for 5 years running. This time, I went alone, wearing my best tuxedo and my coldest smile. Angela was there with Liam, trying to maintain appearances. She looked stunning in a silver dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Liam wore his usual smug expression, though I noticed stress lines around his eyes. They approached me during cocktail hour, Angela's hand possessively on Liam's arm. "Tom," she said with forced brightness, "I'm surprised to see you here." "Surprised to see me at a hospital fundraiser? Where I work. How strange." Liam stepped forward, chest puffed out like a territorial rooster. "Look, Dr. Reed, I think there's been some misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding at all, Mr. Carter. I understand perfectly why you're sleeping with my wife, and she's destroying our marriage. Very clear situation." Several nearby conversations stopped. Angela's face went crimson. "Tom, please," she hissed. "Not here?" "Why not here? Isn't this where you planned to debut your new relationship? Or were you going to wait until the divorce was final?" Dr. Klein, my department head, appeared at my elbow. "Tom, perhaps we should..." "Should what? Pretend my wife isn't a lying whore? Pretend her boyfriend isn't a talentless hack who steals designs? Why should I pretend anything?" The silence spread like ripples in a pond. Angela grabbed Liam's hand and fled toward the exit, but the damage was done. By tomorrow, everyone in Chicago's medical and design communities would know the truth. Claire appeared beside me, elegant in black silk. "Feel better?" she asked, getting there. The fallout was swift and brutal. Angela's largest client, the Pembroke hotel chain, canceled their contract after photos of her and Liam surfaced on a gossip blog. The pictures, taken from Angela's own phone, showed them in various stages of undress at what was supposed to be a business meeting. Liam fared worse. His architectural firm lost 3 major projects when word spread about his habit of claiming credit for his partner's work. Former colleagues came forward with stories of stolen concepts and plagiarized presentations. I watched their world burn from my new apartment, a modest but clean place in Lincoln Park. Claire helped me move in, bringing housewarming gifts and a bottle of expensive champagne. "To new beginnings," she toasted, "to well-deserved endings." Angela showed up that night, drunk and desperate. I watched through the peephole as she pounded on my door, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Tom, open this door. We need to talk." I opened it just enough to see her face. "There's nothing to discuss, Angela. You're destroying my life. My career is ruined." "Your career? You mean the one built on designs Liam stole from other people, including Claire?" Her eyes widened. "What? Oh, you didn't know? Your precious Liam has been taking credit for work that isn't his for years. Claire's been documenting everything." Angela's face crumpled. "That's not... He wouldn't... Ask him yourself, if you can find him. Word is he's looking for a new apartment since his lease got mysteriously canceled." That was Claire's doing. Her brother had friends in property management. Angela tried to push past me into the apartment. I blocked her path. "We were married for 8 years, she sobbed. "Doesn't that mean anything?" "It meant everything to me, obviously meant nothing to you." "I made a mistake. People make mistakes." "Mistakes are forgetting to pick up milk. What you did was a choice, multiple choices, over months of lying and betrayal. I started to close the door, but she grabbed the frame. Tom, please, I'll leave Liam. We can work this out. You'll leave him because his life is imploding. Not because you love me. There's a difference. I do love you. You love my stability, my paycheck, my willingness to overlook your selfishness. That's not the same thing. This time, I managed to close the door. She pounded on it for another 10 minutes before finally leaving. The next morning brought news that made my coffee taste like victory. Liam had been arrested for assault after a bar fight. Apparently someone had confronted him about the stolen designs, and he'd thrown the first punch. Claire called with updates throughout the day. Angela's parents cut her off financially, she reported. Her mother said she was embarrassed by the scandal. And Liam? Bailed out this morning, but his mugshots all over social media. 3 more clients canceled. I almost felt sorry for them. Almost. The real satisfaction came 2 weeks later at Angela's favorite restaurant. She was there with her lawyer, probably discussing alimony strategies. I arrived with Claire, who looked radiant in a red dress that turned every head in the room. We were seated 2 tables away, close enough for Angela to see us, far enough to avoid direct confrontation. Claire played her part perfectly, laughing at my jokes, touching my hand across the table, gazing at me with obvious affection. Angela watched the entire performance, her face cycling through confusion, hurt, and rage. When Claire leaned over to kiss my cheek, Angela knocked over her wine glass. Her lawyer tried to calm her down, but Angela was beyond reason. She stood up, swaying slightly. Apparently she'd been drinking before dinner. "Really, Tom?" she called across the restaurant. "My best friend?" Every conversation in the room stopped. I stood slowly, straightening my jacket. "Ex-best friend," I corrected. Claire decided she preferred honesty over loyalty to lying sluts. Angela's face went white, then red. "How dare you—" "How dare I what? Tell the truth? Expose your affair? Refuse to pretend you're a victim?" The restaurant manager approached, but I held up a hand. "We're leaving," I said calmly. "No need for drama." Claire and I walked out together, leaving Angela standing there with her mouth open and her dignity in ruins. In the parking lot, Claire finally laughed. "Did you see her face? I thought she was going to have a stroke." "Best performance of your life." "Who says I was performing?" She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Before I could respond, she kissed me, not the friendly peck from inside the restaurant, but something deeper and more meaningful. When we broke apart, I stared at her in surprise. "Claire, I know the timing is terrible," she said quickly, "and I know you need time to heal. But Tom, I've been in love with you since college. I stepped aside for Angela because I thought she'd make you happy. Biggest mistake of my life." I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. "Want to come back to my place?" Her smile was radiant. "I thought you'd never ask." 3 months later, Claire and I were inseparable. She'd moved into my apartment, bringing warmth and laughter I'd forgotten were possible. Angela's divorce lawyer tried every trick in the book, but Illinois was a no-fault state, and Angela's adultery was well documented. The settlement was brutal for her. No alimony. Her affair had voided that possibility. She kept her car and personal belongings, but the house, savings, and investments were split down the middle. Since I'd been the primary earner throughout our marriage, her half wasn't enough to maintain her previous lifestyle. Liam had disappeared entirely. Rumor placed him in Phoenix, working construction and living in a trailer park. His architectural license was under review by the state board after multiple plagiarism complaints. I thought my revenge was complete until Angela made one final, desperate play. She showed up at the hospital during my shift, causing a scene in the surgical ward. Security had to escort her out while she screamed about stolen happiness and destroyed lives. Dr. Klein called me into his office the next day. "Tom, I understand you're going through a difficult time, but we can't have disruptions in the hospital." "The disruption wasn't my fault." "No, but it's your responsibility to handle your personal affairs without affecting patient care." He was right, of course. Angela's public meltdown had embarrassed the entire department. "It won't happen again," I promised. "See that it doesn't. You're a good surgeon, Tom, but the board is asking questions." That evening, I called Angela's number, the first time I'd initiated contact since filing for divorce. "Tom?" Her voice was breathless with hope. "Listen carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. If you ever show up at my workplace again, if you ever contact me outside of legal proceedings, if you ever interfere with my life in any way, I will destroy what's left of your reputation so completely that you'll never work in this city again." "Tom, please." "I'm not finished. Claire and I are getting married. We're buying a house. We're going to have the family you never wanted, and you're going to stay out of our lives forever. Silence. Then, you can't just erase 8 years of marriage. Watch me. I hung up and blocked her number. Claire, who'd been listening from the kitchen, wrapped her arms around me from behind. Feel better? Getting there. 2 weeks later, Claire surprised me with news that changed everything. I'm pregnant, she announced over breakfast, holding up a positive test. My coffee mug hit the floor, shattering on the kitchen tiles. Pregnant? 8 weeks. I wanted to be sure before I told you. I stood up so fast my chair fell over, then swept her into my arms and spun her around the kitchen. We're having a baby, I whispered against her hair. We're having a baby, she confirmed. The irony was perfect. Angela had sterilized herself to avoid motherhood, and now I was going to be a father with a woman who actually wanted children. We decided to celebrate with a party. Nothing huge, just close friends and family at a lakeside venue outside the city. Claire's brother offered to provide security, given Angela's recent behavior. The invitations went out to everyone in our social circle, including several people who'd known Angela. We weren't trying to be cruel, just celebrating our happiness with the people who mattered. What we didn't expect was for Angela to crash the party. The lakeside mansion was perfect for our celebration. Claire looked radiant in a flowing blue dress that accommodated her growing bump. Our friends mingled on the terrace overlooking the water, champagne glasses catching the afternoon sunlight. I was talking with Dr. Klein and his wife when Claire's brother Mark appeared at my elbow. We've got a problem, he said quietly. Angela just pulled up. She's got someone with her. Through the windows, I saw Angela striding toward the entrance, her face set in determined lines. Behind her, looking uncomfortable but resigned, was Liam Carter, so he hadn't disappeared to Phoenix after all. Should I have them removed? Mark asked. No, let them come. It's time to finish this. Angela burst through the front door like an avenging angel, her designer dress wrinkled and her makeup slightly smeared. She'd been drinking. I could smell the wine from across the room. How touching, she announced loudly, causing conversations to stop. Tom's celebration of his new life, built on the ashes of our marriage. Claire moved to my side, her hand finding mine. Angela, I said calmly, you weren't invited. Wasn't I? After 8 years of marriage, I think I deserve to witness your happy ending. Liam hung back near the door, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. He looked terrible, thin, unshaven, wearing a cheap suit that didn't fit properly. What do you want? Claire asked. Angela's laugh was bitter. What do I want? I want my husband back. I want my life back. I want to undo the biggest mistake I ever made. Which mistake? I asked. Cheating on me or getting caught? I was confused, scared of commitment, terrified of having children. But I've changed, Tom. We could try again. The entire party was watching now, our guests forming a loose circle around the confrontation. You're right about one thing, I said. You were terrified of having children. So terrified you had surgery to make sure it could never happen? Angela's face crumpled. I know, but Claire's pregnant. The words hit Angela like a physical blow. She actually staggered backward, her hand clutching her chest. Pregnant? 12 weeks. We're having a baby boy. Angela's composure finally shattered completely. She started sobbing, great heaving cries that echoed off the mansion's high ceilings. That should have been our baby, she wailed. No, I said firmly. It shouldn't have. You made sure of that when you chose surgery over family. You made sure of that when you chose Liam over me. Liam finally spoke up. Tom, maybe we should... Should what? Apologize? Make amends? You destroyed my marriage and your own career for a woman who's now crying over losing what she threw away. I pulled out my phone and opened the livestream app. Within seconds, I was broadcasting to every social media platform simultaneously. Ladies and gentlemen, I announced to both the room and my online audience, I'd like you to meet my ex-wife Angela and her boyfriend Liam. They're here to celebrate my engagement to a woman who actually wants to build a life with me. Angela lunged forward, trying to grab my phone, but Mark intercepted her smoothly. Let me go, she screamed. You can't do this. Do what? Tell the truth? Share the fact that you cheated on me for months while planning to secretly sterilize yourself? Or should I mention how Liam here built his career on stolen designs? The live stream was gaining viewers by the second, hundreds, then thousands of people watching Angela's public meltdown. You want to know what kind of woman Angela really is? I continued, addressing the camera. She once told me that having children would ruin her figure and limit her career options. She said motherhood was for women without ambition. Stop, Angela pleaded. Please, Tom, stop. She also said I was boring and predictable, that I wasn't exciting enough for her sophisticated tastes. Well, Angela, how's this for exciting? Claire stepped forward, her hand on her belly. I'm proud to be carrying Tom's child, she said clearly. I'm proud to be marrying a man who values family over selfish desires. Angela's sobs turned to rage. She grabbed a champagne glass from a nearby table and threw it at Claire. Mark caught her wrist before the glass could connect, but the intent was clear. Assault on a pregnant woman, Mark said calmly, still holding Angela's wrist. That's a felony in Illinois. I'm calling the police, Dr. Klein announced, pulling out his phone. No, I said. Let her leave. She's already destroyed herself more thoroughly than any legal system could. I ended the live stream and pocketed my phone. The video had been viewed over 10,000 times in just 5 minutes. Angela, you have 2 choices, I said. Leave now with whatever dignity you have left, or wait for the police and add criminal charges to your list of problems. Angela looked around the room, seeing only disgusted faces and shaking heads. Even Liam had backed away from her, clearly wanting no part of her breakdown. This isn't over, she whispered. Yes, it is, I replied. It's been over since the day I found your secret phone. Everything since then has just been you learning to accept reality. Angela stumbled toward the door, Liam trailing reluctantly behind her. As they reached the threshold, I called out one last time. Angela. She turned, hope flickering in her eyes. The house sold yesterday. Claire and I are using the money for our son's college fund. Thought you should know. The hope died. Angela walked out of my life forever, leaving behind only the echo of her sobs and the satisfaction of perfect revenge. Claire squeezed my hand as our guests burst into spontaneous applause. Feel better now? She asked. I looked around the room at the people who truly mattered, friends who'd stood by me, colleagues who respected me, and the woman carrying my child. Perfect, I said. 6 months later, Claire gave birth to Thomas Michael Reed, Jr. Angela had moved to California, where she worked as a receptionist in a small design firm. Liam was indeed in Phoenix, his architectural career permanently destroyed by the plagiarism scandal. As I held my son for the first time, watching Claire's exhausted but radiant smile, I realized that revenge had been just the beginning. The real victory was the life we'd built together, the life Angela had been too selfish and short-sighted to want. Sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, but sometimes it's making sure your enemies know exactly what they lost and why they'll never get it back. My son opened his tiny eyes and looked at me with perfect trust. In that moment, I understood that Angela had done me the greatest favor of my life by showing me her true nature before I wasted any more years on her. Claire reached for my hand, her wedding ring catching the hospital room's fluorescent light. No regrets? She asked softly. I looked at my wife, my son, and the future we'd created together. None whatsoever. Angela had wanted excitement and adventure. Instead, she'd gotten exactly what she deserved, a life as empty and shallow as her character. Meanwhile, I had everything she'd thrown away and everything she'd never truly wanted. The irony was delicious, and the justice was perfect.